It's a pleasure that I've been invited here in this forum of intellectuals who really take care of our data, our privacy, right? So bring a different perspective, more from the human side of it, in fact, the behavioral side of it, and how it is affecting employees and what are the challenges that the HR, in fact, is facing nowadays. So before I could start with the challenges what the HR is facing, I would like to help understand as to what is going on around us, right? So to understand the context, in fact, better. So let me just show you the slide. Let me just go to the second slide. This is at the very beginning of the year. Maybe in Jan it started, Feb, March halfway through, we got hit by something which was unexpected, and everyone got affected because of that. We got affected personally as well as professionally, right? Personally, because our space got confined to our homes, and our space, which was shared with a lot of people, was not shared now. We were confined. Another one, professionally, our professional environment intruded into our home environment. I'm using the word intruded here because literally that is what had happened. This was the time of summer, so kids were there at home. There were the talks of how the kids would in fact, go back to school, right? Once this episode is over. But the episode has not yet completed, and it is still going on. So this was what we faced right at the beginning. This is called collective trauma. Collective trauma. Now, loosely, colloquially, we use trauma in fact, the benign situations. Like, for example, my visit to the dentist was traumatic, right? However, when you look at psychological term, trauma is related to death or the anxiety of death, right? So collectively, majority of us had the fear, if I go out, I would get affected or infected by the virus, and that's going to be very harmful. And it could also lead to something very devastating. It could also lead to death as well, right? That was the trauma, that was the anxiety. Hence, you might have seen right at the beginning of the lockdown, you would have not seen a single child on the road. Children were not playing. Even the naughtiest kid was not seen outside, was confined to the house. So what is collective trauma? It is the psychological upheaval wherein a group of people, a society, a community, or it could be the entire country which can be affected. Now it is the entire world which is getting affected, right? And it is experiencing it. It can affect any size of people. Now, few of them can say that I was not so much affected, and that is possible as well, right? There are few people who are not affected so much to such extent as the others, but they had that collective feeling of something which is threatening their very existence. That's the collective trauma. Why am I talking about trauma here, collective trauma, in the session of HR, in fact, the challenges, right? That is because we are dealing with human beings. We are not dealing with machines. As soon as we say we are human beings, the best of the tools that you provide might not substitute for the feelings and emotions that a human being or a community goes through, right? Stated that there are, in fact, organizations were quite quick at addressing the issues. I've seen that organizations, along with the HR, the business and the HR, they did a lot of things to make sure that the situation is salvaged. These are the things that the HR and the business did collectively, right? There were a lot of communication channels that were opened to the employees to know about what is going on and what the organization is expecting them to do. Also, there were communication about what is expected of the employees as well. Um, there were external information shared with the employees. Ongoing HR policies were tweaked so that the current situation can be, in fact, tackled. There were a lot of sessions, especially the virtual sessions that were conducted as to how to work in the environment, in this environment, in fact, the virtual environment. Along with that, there were sessions being conducted by many organizations as to how to lead a team as well in this, in fact, the virtual environment. There were sessions being conducted by the HR on how this lockdown would affect them and what are the measures that they can take to overcome this anxiety, right? So these were the good things that happened across the industry. Stated that, I would now move into few challenges that the HR faces. And these challenges, I'm bringing it out for the IT industry specific. Manufacturing industry have a different ball game altogether. I was just discussing this with Mr. Naavi as to how the manufacturing industry is getting affected, right? So the challenges that the HR is facing is in terms of recruitment. The recruitment process has become a little slow, depending on the kind of industry that you're in. If you're in IT, IT industry is already adapted to what you call the virtual environment. And many a time the interviews happen online, virtually, and the offer letter is given, right? However, it's also slow, but considering how the business is getting impacted. If the business is getting impacted, adversely, then the process has stopped completely. So few cases I've seen many organizations wherein the process is still on. However, they are cautious about what the future entails. So the recruitment process is a little slow in IT. However, if you look at manufacturing industry, this has become a real challenge because in manufacturing, unlike IT, you cannot just work from home. You have to be there at the production place, right? So recruitment becomes a challenge. Having an interview becomes a challenge. To assess their skill becomes a challenge, right? The second challenge that the HR is facing right now, not just HR, is the business, is the onboarding difficulties. If you were to, I know that most of the people are there in IT, and if you were to hire a person, the first challenge that you would come across is, how do I provide him a laptop? That's a basic component, right? How do I provide him the laptop once I've given the person the offer letter? The onboarding process has become a little difficult in this environment. I've seen that the greatest challenge right now, and the challenge which would continue for a long time, would be induction and integration of the employee in the culture of the organization, right? Now, I might induct the employee virtually. I might do certain sessions. I might have connects with the leaders to help the employees understand what the organization stands for. But if I don't integrate that employee, right, we always talk of -30 plus 30, plus 60, plus 90 in organization. That is, before the employee joins, 30 days before that, how do I engage the potential employee? And after the employee joins, at the time of joining and after joining, 30 days, how do I engage the employee? 60 days period, what are the activities that needs to be done to integrate this employee in the culture of the organization? And then 90 days, what are the activities, right? Minus 60, minus 30, plus 30, plus 60, plus 90. This is the best practice in the industry, so that the employee really integrates into the culture of the organization. Now, we have seen that when an employee gets an offer letter, uh, assume that the employee got an offer letter in the month of March. And this employee has been working from home since. He has not come to office, right? Now, the challenge would be that employee has never interacted physically with any of the employees in the organization and never been in the organization to look at the culture of the organization. Now, when I say culture, there are two aspects to it. One is the set culture, what I talk of, the vision of the organization, the mission of the organization. These are the values of the organization. These are the set guidelines that needs to be followed by every employee, right? Along with that, how frequently can you take breaks? What is the culture of cafeteria? What is the culture around the timings? Are they flexible? Are they not flexible? How are they? Are they relaxed employers? Are they stringent employers? Are they, in fact, quite formal? How are they? Yes, these are something that can be seen. There is another aspect, another layer to it, called the unsaid culture of an organization. The unsaid culture of the organization can only be seen when the employee works with the organization and starts mingling with people and the manager and the management. These are the cultures that is picked up very unconsciously, right? Because of work from home, these unsaid cultures as well as set cultures to a certain extent are missing. So the integration of the employee becomes a little challenge. So the challenge of the HR would be, how do I cascade the culture in this virtual environment? If you were to observe, you see that in the background, I have this plywood wardrobes, right? This is the environment that I am in right now. That is, homes are not designed for work. Homes are not designed for work, right? Homes are designed, especially in India, homes are designed to live, not so much to work. So this entire paradigm shift of your home becoming an office as well also affects the culture that you would like to cascade or imbibe in the employee, right? How does this affect? Can anyone help me understand? How do you think this would affect long term as well as short term? Because this is a huge topic in itself, and this would have the effect on the organization for at least 1 or 2 years.
See, that was what you are saying is required when everyone working together in an environment where they are physically there. So they interact, they talk each other, they know each other's habits, they know each other's jealousness, all this calm, krodh, lomo, isha, dvesha, they know all those things. But when they are working from home, all those things are not there. And he is working only for the specific type of work given to him. At least in IT environment, I'm not talking of any other environment, financial environment or educational environment. I cannot say, but in IT environment, he is given a certain task, and he is basically integrated in that task for the technical purpose. As far as other purposes which are here, human purpose are required. That is required when you are working physically together. So all those things come. But in this, that thing has gone. I don't know what will be long-term and medium-term effect of that. But at least today in the short term, this is what I have seen, and I am happy with that.
Wonderful. Any other thoughts?
I'd like to add to Dr. Goyal's point. I think I don't see too much of a change, because all those who are client facing, and you expect them to be suited, booted, and probably have a very nice background. And I think Zoom also allows you to, in one of its wallpapers, it allows you to have certain backgrounds that show you in a professional environment. So that's one. Apart from that, I think organizations are accommodative enough to, from an employee perspective, that if all these support functions, let's say IT or maybe even HR to a fair extent, when they're providing support, that is support internally. They are not, showcasing themselves to the client or any client personnel for them to make up opinion or a belief of what the organization is. So having said that, I think it doesn't change much in my view.
Okay, wonderful. Any other point of view?
Oh, Mansoor, the time management becomes a big issue in the work from home
Mansoor Anand
environment.
here.
Go ahead, Anand. Hello.
Yeah, Anand. One sec.
Yes, Anand.
Anand, proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So what I was trying to say is that when it comes to the cultural issue or understanding the organization, the critical points will be like this: that whether the organization is flat or hierarchical, as Mansoorji was telling, that how stringent they are into the terms, work, the execution of the work and all, and open door policies. How the leadership team, each employee need to understand the leadership team, including their immediate managers and the peers. So how cooperative, collaborative they are. The collaboration aspect, open door policy, and then the other thing is the support of the allied systems, like including the HR, quality team, because quality policy matters a lot, whether he's a technical person or a project manager or any one kind of thing. So these are the things, giving a KT or a knowledge transfer on these terms will become very critical during when the employee is onboarded while he's working from home or something like that in a remote condition. The next point is coming to the environment of that of house. The home is not the working place. Yes, you are right. Because I worked my last 6 years, I was working from home most of the times because I was managing global projects. So what I do in the office, sitting at the office, same thing I do sitting at my home, because across the regions, all the project managers used to report to me and I was managing the program. So, but never, having said that, I used to visit the office, deliberately, because there was not necessary, but because I need to understand the other stakeholders, my leadership team, my managers, quality team, IT support system, a lot of other stakeholders who are involved. I need to understand the ecosystem and also gain some knowledge what other programs are doing, how they are overlapping with my projects, is there a risk kind of thing, resource issue and all kind of thing. So this, dipstick studies or sensibilities, feelers will not get once, we are working from home. This is a few things I would like to bring the points.
Thank you so much for that.
Mansoor.
Yes, please.
Working from home is not good for health. That is my understanding. Why is, see, what Mr. Anand said may be correct from his perspective, but when we are at home, our family members, they feel that you are at home, you are available. Okay. That is one psychological feeling. People always think that he is there, so we can do it. And visitors and cars, particularly in office, when we go from 9 to 5 or 10 to 5, they're free from us. When we are at home, we are including their personal life also. That is one point. Secondly, when we go out office, we have complete office dedicated work. At home, in between, we have to do home course also, that we have to attend people and family members, particularly when we have elders with the family, that we cannot say I'm in the office and I can call all that. So these are the problems normally we'll face at home. And in the long run, I don't think the work home from home is a productivity issue, productivity enabler.
I agree with you. I agree with Adepu sir. I experienced this, Adepu sir. Actually, while working at home, they think that I am available. I used to have staggered meetings. So when they have my requirement, just give a trivial example. Oh, go to the corner shop and get me the curd packet. But I say, next 5 minutes I'm logging in. I have got an important meeting or something like that. They say, oh my good God, all this time, you are just whiling away time, or you're relaxing. Now, when I say something requirement, you say you have got a meeting. This practically used to happen. And what you said, Adepu sir, it's right. So, and also as work from home becomes, increases the stress and fatigue actually.
Yeah.
When the escalations are there, it becomes very difficult to manage being work from home. If we are there in the office, there some escalations are there, some issues are there that can be better resolved taking the support of the peers or something, or managers or something like that. That will not happen at the same speed if you are working from the home. It may bring in some kind of a stress. That's what I would like to share.
I'm working from home for last 5 years, and we have made SOP that how to manage work for home and work for home. Both things are there. So we have to work from home and work for home. The best thing is that it saves a lot of time, because that commuting time you save, a time when you get ready for the work, that is also 1 hour, not less than that. That you save cost, you save the cost of capital cost and operative cost of the office. So lot of things, lot of savings are there. To have that type of saving in time, if you say in Mumbai, my all employees, if they come to office, they say they incur at least 4 hours. Now they say 4 hours. Can't we allocate that 2 hours out of that 4 hours for the homework or work for home? So work from home and work for home both can be done if you have proper understanding in the family, and you create an SOP that boss, whatever is required, tell me in the morning or previous day, we will adjust accordingly. My requirement, your requirement, will adjust. Yes, there may be some requirement which may come on emergency basis, that we can always manage, and that can be done, that can be there in the office also. So both things, it has got minus point, plus point, both are there.
For
I think
in
that's
fact, sharing
a
your
very
thoughts.
I
good
just
point.
want to add something, I just want to add, as sir said very clearly, all are having, that required discipline approach, because the culture which was not there, only few companies or, IT people, they were having, the benefit of working from home, certain days and all.
Yeah.
But then, like last 2-3 months, now people knows about it. This is the way we need to work actually.
Yeah.
So employees also now, initial stage, they were taking things very lightly, but now I have seen, now they are expecting, when the office timing is 9 o'clock, you need to be log in at 9 o'clock. You need to pick up the telephone call within 3 to 4 rings. You need to reply the email, because it's like a very disciplined approach, because they are paying money for that 9 to 5:30. Okay.
Yeah.
So they expect the quality of work. Many times, we have seen, people say, I don't have connectivity and all. So, that need to be informed, things in advance, because, the lot of now business dependency is there as per your role. So one has to,
Yeah.
make a self discipline. Second thing, many times, we have seen, like, when we do calls and all, background of the, people, their child cries, or maybe, somebody make a noise, or, lot of, other disturbance comes. So that also, I have heard about, some of the companies, they will, ask, people, do you have a work from home facilities available for you? If no, then you please let us know, so that we can try to see how we can able to make your home as a office. Because if in the Bombay, like, where there is a smaller homes are there, 1 BHK or maximum 2 BHK, where husband wives are working, or kids are having their own online classes and all, then everybody like running with a laptop here and there, because they need a specific area where there is no other noise disturbance and all. So, but now softwares will be available where they will see, really people are logging to 9 o'clock or 9:30, and they are log out with a specific requirement. And in terms of quality of work, they will see the, how much time you are, giving the answer in terms of reply, or, solutions and all.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts. I'm running out of, in fact, time. What you said is so true. There are people who are able to manage it. There are people who are unable to manage it because it's a new thing altogether. right? And now HR has a different task on hand. That is, if the employees were to manage this environment, how should the HR equip the managers to create that environment, right? Employees would have their first connect with the, in fact, the manager. They are the one, in fact, the interface between the organization and the employees. So the managers need to be equipped enough to make sure that they have been given the right tools, right skills to manage that, as well as to cascade the right culture in the employees, right? That's in fact a great challenge in itself. For that, there needs to be training sessions. There needs to be a lot of, in fact, the hand holding for that. So I'm going to go to the next point. There's another shift that has happened, which is, a lot of trainings have moved from in-person to virtual trainings. As you can see, a lot of conferences are happening. However, what you can do in a in-person training is not the same thing that you can do in a virtual environment. There are many organizations who are used to it, but there are organizations who are forced to move to that, right? We have seen that many organizations struggle to move on to the virtual, in fact, the learning. The other point is HR challenge is, one aspect is business, wherein you give them the task, there's a goal, and that goal needs to be achieved. The other challenge is there's something called employee engagement, right? Employee engagement becomes a challenge. Even if in case of in fact, the team managers once in a while, just to make sure that they bond with the team, they would take the team out, right? It could be for lunch or anything, for that matter, which is which is not formal, so that the employees could bond. That has taken a hit in this environment. And there's a mindset shift as well that has to take place. I know that during this course of 3 months, the employees are able to adapt as well as adopt the situation. They are able to adjust to the situation as well as the timing. Last but not the list on this challenges that I've put is re-establishing a work-life balance. I've seen this with few of the employees. There is no timing. I know that few organizations might be, saying that they need to work from 9:30 to 6:30 or 9 to 6. There are cases wherein the employees get pings, that get calls after that timing as well, right? They are expected to work after the shift as well. In fact, there are cases, many cases, right? Because of which work-life balance they are trying to figure out as to how to balance this. And I think it's more to do with how expectations are set with the employees as well as the managers, right? And if there is clear-cut guidance as to how this needs to be dealt with, I think that would take care of it. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments here? I'm sorry, I don't take questions at the end. I just go with the flow.
Yeah, hi Deepak here. I'll just ask. Yeah. So this work-life balance that we are speaking of, don't you think this has got a lot to do with the culture of the organization and then the integration of the person in that?
Yeah.
So, like for example, if somebody is coming from a 9 to 5 kind of a setup where they stop working at maybe 5:30, whatever that may be, into a more different culture where they start expecting people to take ownership of work and get the job done, do whatever it takes, but make sure that this happens by so and so time.
Yes.
Right? So I think that will be a big change in the recruitment process itself to see whether this is a right fitment, and then relook at this point, saying that whether this person expects a work-life balance in that context. I'm sure most of the people here are also entrepreneurs in themselves,
Mm.
and they would know that if you're supposed to make that buck by the end of this month, you have to put in the hours that it requires.
Yes.
So there is nothing like, you saying that, okay, now my clock has struck 6 and then it's time to, like, look elsewhere.
In fact, Deepak, I appreciate your question because you have touched on two things, right? One is the recruitment process as well as integration of the employee within the culture of the organization,
Absolutely.
right?
Because if you're expecting somebody to take ownership, but the mindset of the person is that of being a tactical worker or a
Yep.
clerical this thing, then obviously we are going to run into challenges where he's going to expect work life
Yes.
when the boss is expecting him to do something else.
Yes.
So I feel that this has a lot to do with the recruitment process, and then getting the person to even integrate into the culture of the organizations. And I think that a lot happens in the interview process itself, because you're painting a picture for him saying that this is how it's going to look like and how do you feel you're going to be able to manage that. I think if that has already been gone through, then a lot of this can be addressed.
So, Deepak, I gave the example of the employee who would get recruited, right? In the month of March, the employee is onboarded in the month of March and he has not come to office, right? The entire environment has changed. Now, he would not be exposed to this culture, right?
Um, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, if you're looking at entry level jobs, maybe not. But
Mm.
suppose if somebody is already having some work experience,
Mm.
then these expectations would have been already set by the hiring manager.
Mm.
And they would also have understood that over the period of time, what is going to be done,
Mm.
how the person is going to be given work, and
Mm.
where is it that he's going to now going to be let off by himself,
Mm.
whether he has colleagues to work with, or whether he is going to be you know uh, a single person who's going to do some work. So that's what it is. I mean, the person who's been hired also has to showcase that he's doing justice to the role that he's been hired.
Yeah. So, Deepak, your words are golden. Had all the managers been so sorry to say mindful of that, then there wouldn't have been a lot of issues after hiring,
There is
I
a
need
right?
to take a
paradigm change
session.
which is happening, and there is a lot of work for HR people to find that type of people who can take responsibility, who can take ownership of the job, and which is happening in various situations where, let's say, there is a company which is situated somewhere outside India, and there is one or two persons who are working for them outside, and there is no cultural integration for those people. They are experienced, so but still they get fitment in that, because they already know that, okay, this type of work is expected. They are expected to work in the Indian environment with the culture of that company, but not physical culture where everyone has to be together, but in a virtual culture. So that paradigm change is coming, and this work for home has to stay. Two
Yeah.
reasons: where companies have realized that there is a lot of potential in saving money. Second thing, even in the company where people will work, there will be a social distancing. So if there are 100 people in a company, hardly 30, 40 will sit, others has to work from home, whether they have work from staggered or permanently. So that has to stay. So that cultural change, paradigm change has to come. How it will look like, what it will be, that is still to evolve. Lot of things are happening in the environment, and this is a really big challenge for HR people to predict and to make it happen.
Yeah.
Hi
Abs-
Mansoor, this is Nilanjana. I represent Course 5, and I'm the talent management lead for Pan India
Mm.
HR. I just wanted to, kindly, I've been hearing a lot of views here on this forum, but if you ask me today, and you talk about work-life balance, I think people are really benefiting out of, this opportunity that they've got for themselves too. While you have your work, I have been hearing my employees talk about, they could spend some time out, like somebody was right, somebody rightly pointed out, in Mumbai you take 4 hours to travel, So I give those 2 hours to my hobbies today. I can read a book, I can paint, I can draw, I can sing. We hosted a great talent show, and honestly there were 100-200 people who participated in that, showing the talent that they have, which probably none of us knew by then, that ABC had XYZ talent. It is rather the forum is so fluid that you can draw your own picture the way you want it. Coming to the word culture, culture is something which is inbuilt in a person by themselves. You really can't teach culture to anyone. Okay. What actually matters and what actually forms a person in the company is the value of the organization. So while we are hiring, it is correct that when we hire, we really need to find out if the person really fits your value system. Okay, so that the value that you want to see in that employee, like we have our value which says customer focus, collaboration. Will this person be good when we talk about collaboration? Can he or she work with others? Today in this world, I hardly see, or I can even count on people who would say that I have a very flexible, a very fixed shift pattern. I go to office at 9 and come back at 6. Very rarely you will hear in today's day. None of the organization, wherever you work, you have extended working hours, and which is a very known thing across all industries. There is no one who can say, okay, I have to go in, except for your the manufacturing industry, maybe, where you have a pattern of shifts and you have to come in and go out like that. But if you're talking today about the IT world, I don't think so there is a start and an end time anywhere. Except if you are in onshore employees, you're abroad and you follow the state of law. But however, today the best pattern to work is, what your work is, how can you best utilize your time to rightly establish the work-life balance.
So thank you so much for, in fact, sharing your thoughts. The thought that comes to our mind is when we say organizational culture, right? Um, I go back to what culture is, right? If I were to ask a question, when was that we learned culture as individuals? When did we learn culture?
I think right from your childhood, you keep learning that.
Okay. In fact, there was a study in one of the psychological journal, which was stated, one child would never cry when the plane took off or landed. Their house was near the airport, right? However, the visiting child would always cry when the plane took off or landed. So the psychologist says that this child was used to the sound of the aeroplane right in the mother's womb.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So the child was used to it. The child was used. Yeah, all the children are used to the mother's voices, the surrounding voices, the mother's moods, and everything. That creates a culture. Culture is not confined to a religion or the language or so. All these things add on to the culture of an individual. So I agree with you. It's easy to hire a person basis the values that the person brings, and it is also the responsibility of the HR to build a culture. And to build a culture, it would take at least 2 to 3 years, 3 years, 4 years to build a culture, right? And that's a long process, and that gets cascaded slowly and steadily. But a quick method to hire an individual is through the values that the organization has already articulated.
Thank you.
One view around this, Mansoor. So I wouldn't always look at somebody who's a team player, because you will always need a mix of team players and perfectionist soloists.
Yes.
Right. So imagine what would be the outcome if Picasso or Michelangelo's thing was a teamwork. You know, I read that
Deepak,
somewhere.
I
It's
like
not
to
my thought.
answer this, your thought here. I mean, I totally agree. A team player is always not required, but what is required in an individual is the individual should have a mind of their own. That is the most important thing when you work.
So
Because
I'm
No,
so sorry
having
to
said
interrupt
that,
you.
he should
And
fit
it
the
depends.
role.
It
I'm
depends
so
on the
sorry to
role, because
interrupt.
in a team of 5, some people has to be creative, some people has to be teamwork, some people who can manage them. So you need
More
every type
aptly,
of person in that particular team. Role has to be important.
yes, he
So
needs to
so
fit the role.
so so sorry to interrupt you, folks. I just need to have a time check. Mr. Navi, do we have time?
I have no
10,
problem.
10 minutes,
You
10
have
minutes,
time,
10, 15
and
minutes.
people are very much interested. Kodan Raman also wants to add something.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Kodan
Yes.
Raman, please.
Yes. See, I'm not an employee luckily during these times. However, my son as well as daughter-in-law started working from home from the COVID time. Some of the things they have exchanged with me, I would like to share. One is they say most of the works are containing team efforts. Those teamwork are suffering, and the creativity is coming down to a larger extent because there is no coordination that is happening. That's the real truth. When you go for a R&D work or some kind of work where human element or even emotional elements or discussions required on a live platform, that has suffered. That's what they say. Sir, Dad, I am not able to do certain aspects because I do not know what is going on in the team manager's mind or my subordinate's number. So this really has brought down productivity to some extent. I can watch. For instead of keeping entire thing at work from home, at least couple of days, if they are allowed to go to office, exchange with them at a very minimum level, this can be upgraded. That's about the present day boys. And I would like to add my time also because I'm only a guest lecturer. I used to travel around India. Now I'm in my home only. I'm traveling everything. I have read about a person. Why should we travel from place to place? If books are there, they are the real people who can carry me everywhere. Like that now, my laptop, today morning also I had a sessions for Vizag and other places. So it has become a kind of a easy tool. But there, what I miss is the way I can interact with my trainees or with my recipients of that knowledge or whatever is there. There is that kind of gap is there still, whatever you do. In fact, I have written in my blogs also saying that that emotional element, if it is missing in teaching, we may not reach them 100%. So these two things I would like to bring to your notice because they may be slightly different than what you have said.
We have been conditioned to that type of situation from our very early childhood, in the classroom, in this interaction, in that in the offices, etc. But gradually those things are breaking. There was a concept previously of joint family. Now that joint family concept is breaking. So gradually, even this type of concept that we have to work together, physically sitting together. See, when you are physically sitting together, apart from the work, other things comes. Oh, uski साड़ी मेरी साड़ी से सफेद क्यों? That type of thing, comparison between each other. Showmanship comes. In this environment, that thing goes out. I am sitting currently with my t-shirt on. Whole day I sit with my t-shirt on without any problem. But when I go to office, which is still there, I am not using it for last 5 years. I have to have total shirt, if not trouser, etc., or that coat, etc. But at least shirt has to be there. Today, my shirt says whether you are working or not. But that's a separate issue. But the concept of we have to change our mindset. It's a paradigm change, which COVID has brought abruptly. Otherwise, we'd have got it after 5 years, 10 years gradually. Many companies have started working from home for last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. TCS, I think 30% people are still working from home for last 2, 3 years. I know some of my relatives who are working from home in TCS, in Infosys. I am working from home for last 4, 5 years because why to go to the office and spend some time in traveling at this and I'm fresh and I can adjust with my wife easily. So she is also accommodative. I am also accommodative. We have got SOPs, how to manage all those things. I told her that okay, 7 o'clock this thing is there. So fine, perfectly okay with her, no problem in that. So my children. And second thing, I have got one advantage that I have got 3 bedrooms, so 1 bedroom is converted into office, others are being used. Otherwise, where people have got 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, they have to adjust. So that also becomes a challenge in this environment.
I just want to add one point to, so what you were saying before. Today, if you're talking about productivity, I think this is the best platform to, sell your, yourself, is what we say here in this industry. How can you, let others know what is the best that you have, and, how do you, you showcase that to, everyone. This is the right platform to do so. Because all of us have this opportunity. We pick up projects, we showcase it, and there is just not one person who's coming to these calls and probably these meetings or conferences. You get a bigger platform and you can do much more than what you were just doing in one small little team. So I think
what is the objective of an entrepreneur? To do a specific type of work with a quality
I would like to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I would like to interrupt. I think the topic, I think we are deviating a little.
See, what I wanted to tell Mr. Mansoor, now we know that there are different kinds of employees. Some seem to prefer the work from home environment, and some work situations also seem to be unaffected by the work from home. In fact, productivity may go up. Now, even we are talking of recruitment and then this integration, whatever was that, minus 30, plus 30, etc., as a best practice. Now, the challenge for organizations is how to change our system for cultivating the new required culture. For example, if we have a particular task in which team effort is required, another task where team effort is not required. So now we have to develop the employees in that specific mold. So I think we need to actually relook at our SOPs, perhaps in terms of recruitment and then training, how to train a person for teamwork in a virtual environment. Okay, teamwork in a real environment was different. You have a body language and other things. Now all that goes to a different this thing. So I think it is a big challenge to the trainers and HR managers themselves to rework the whole system with which we have worked for so long now. What do you say, Mansoor?
Absolutely. I think, you talked of two things. One is employees. I think even Deepak mentioned this, that he would not hire the same kind of employee. He would not hire the team member, right? A team player. So there are projects wherein you need to work together, right? And there is high level of collaboration. If you are there in innovative products, there is high level of, in fact, the interaction that the employees need to have, the team members need to have. So many a time it has happened that, yeah, the team members have been collaborating virtually. It's not a new thing, right? It's not a new thing in IT industry, but in other places, it is a very new concept. In other places, in manufacturing and other industries, is a new concept. IT, we are used to the virtual environment, one or the other way. So helping team members as well as the team managers to facilitate the right kind of dialogue between the team members becomes very important. I use the word facilitate here, not manage, right? How do they facilitate the entire conversation? How do they facilitate collaboration between the team members? This becomes an important skill that the team manager needs to have. More than the team members is the team manager, right? So understanding this and helping them upskill in this new environment, new skills, new knowledge, new attitude, new paradigm becomes a challenge. I know that there are organizations who have started working towards it. They have already started upskilling the managers. And if you're there in HR, many a time you see that, work from home is easy. If you're there in production, wherein you are there among other folks, wherein your business becomes crucial, you have a business impact, right? I think the manager needs to have the right skill to collaborate, to help in fact, the team members collaborate along with the tools.
Rahul, you have got any views on this?
Yes, sir. Now, sir, I just wanted to express my observation here. The one thing which I personally have learned from the lockdown period, that the mindset of not being flexible cost you a lot. Means
yes,
some people included, they are in my extended family, have this tendency that I don't understand the technology. I'm too old. I'm too this weak to understand the technology. But if in today's world, if you don't have the flexibility to accept technology, maybe I may be very harsh to say that you may not be able to keep your lights on in your house.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, see, many of my friends who were bachelors, they don't know how to cook, and every time I ask them when it is the essential skill, when you will start cooking, they will say when I will get married, the problem will be taken care of. Now all those people are watching YouTube videos and they are posting the photos in WhatsApp, and the mindset of rejecting the technology as the solution will pay you really. And one personal example I choose to one very personal thing I would like to share. A lot of my extended family members, the during the Diwali time were the only time we used to get all together. Never in means only one time we could meet together. Now with the acceptance of the technology and the Zoom meeting platform, we almost have a monthly family meeting call, and we are able to see everyone. So means what lockdown has personally taught me, that rejection of technology is not a solution. We have to accept that as an integral part of the life. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you, Mandeep. Prakash, you have got any views? As a leader of a team, what is your views, Prakash? So this kind of upskilling required for HR managers to meet this particular kind of development, I think that is a great challenge. And for people like us, and perhaps definitely for Mansoor, this is actually a very exciting thing. So when people want something new, that is where our relevance comes in. If everything is going on for what it has been for 20 years, then our relevance will gradually taper off. Now, we need to actually create new systems of recruitment, new systems of type setting the employees, and jobs may have to be segregated based on the type of culture required for those things. Like you said, Raman said, research projects require team effort, whereas these software projects, individuals can work. So projects will have to be defined based on the kind of people who will be most productive in that scenario, and perhaps in terms of recruitment, we have to look for that kind of people. A loner is more required for this thing.
So, sir, in that, what you're saying is true. That is, you have to look at the entire competency framework afresh.
Yeah.
Yes, the competency framework, which is mapped to the, in fact, the JD, right? The skill sets, in fact, the behavior, all these things needs to be redefined. Assuming that COVID-19 would continue for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. There is a lot of assumption that it would continue. Right. If this situation stops, maybe in 2 months, 3 months, I think people would go back to so-called normal, but they would continue with the culture that they have tasted, right?
Yeah.
During this period. If this continues, yes, there needs to be a revamp of the competency framework, because of which the hiring needs to be looked at. The integration part as well as the induction part would be taken care of. Then comes the training and development of the employees.
Okay.
Whether COVID will continue or not, work from home will continue, because technology you cannot change. And you have to adapt to the technology. As Mr. Manasdeep has said, that we cannot avoid it. And if you say that march of technology in the last 200 years, 100 years, 30 years, 10 years, we have to adopt to the technology, and we have to, change is the only thing which is constant. So we have to change with the change. We cannot say that I will live the life as it was 20 years back, 30 years back. We just can't do it. So this is one of the requirements of the change, that you have to change even the workplace. And there are a lot of advantages, a lot of disadvantages, and a lot of things which are changing. So we have to change with the change. And whether the change is forced due to COVID, or if it was not COVID, it would have come after 5 years.
Concluding remarks from Mansoor.
Yeah, I'll just share this slide. The way forward, this is the HR perspective. There could be, this is my personal perspective. There could be different perspectives basis the culture of the organization. I'm using the word culture of the organization. I think the next step would be to really look at how the human capital is managed, right? Well, crudely speaking, human being is taken care of, right? How the employees are taken care of business, along with the best practices that could help employees, have a good, healthy environment, a good, healthy, the work-life balance, as well as integration of the culture. And the second point, to understand what keeps people engaged in this environment for the HRs, what drives productivity, productive workplaces in this environment, and what enables a true merger of human capital with, in fact, the technology. I think if we were to really look at how people needs to be engaged in this environment, I think we need to go back to studying human behavior itself and look at how humans integrate in the new culture, right? I think what we have been following cannot be the same if this continues. That's what it is. I have, ended the session of mine. Any questions, any thoughts you can share? Any comments, any disagreements also, I would in fact welcome.
Thank you. I think you have triggered some new thoughts. Okay. We know that in all this kind of HR, these things, we don't find solutions immediately, but each person will be thinking on his own, and perhaps that is what a session like this can do. I think you have done an excellent job in that particular direction.
Thank you so much.
But solutions will evolve out of the requirement. Right? The necessity is the mother of invention. So solutions will evolve from this necessity.
Good session, Mansoor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mansoor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the persons who attended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mansoor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I will be closing the session now.